What's up, everybody? Game Crunch here. I was just looking over the news this morning and I just found an article that I kind of wanted to share with you guys. Maybe get your thoughts, give my thoughts of what I think of it. Because I think it's maybe one of the stupidest things I've read in a little while. Doesn't really make much sense to me. So let's take a look at this kind of dumb statement here, in my opinion. So this guy, Matthew Karch, I hope I said that right. He believes that $70 games are going to go the way of the dodo. So basically, they're going to go away. So he's saying that games are going to be $50 or $40, $30, maybe even $60. I don't know. But basically, he's saying that these games are too expensive. I don't know. I don't agree with that. You got to look at inflation. Things are inflating. I vividly remember being a kid and buying my copy of Majora's Mask, which sits on my shelf over there. Bought it with my own money. I saved up, bought the game, and I remember it being like $102 after tax. Now that's in Canada, so it's a little different, but that's the equivalent with tax and everything of about a $90 game. And now games in Canada are about $80. So that is more expensive, but a lot of that has to do with the carts. The carts were more expensive, and I understand that. But you also have to remember that was back in the year 2000. So that was 24 years ago, and the game was more expensive. And if you look through some of those old magazines and stuff, like the old Sears catalog, stuff like that, those carts were expensive, man. Some of them would be like $100 for a new game. And I remember being a kid, like, it was so rare that I would get a new game. Most of my games were used. Like, I'd get them at one of the Hawk stores or something like that, one of the pawn shops. I wouldn't really get a whole lot of new games. You know, maybe I get a new game for Christmas. Maybe I get a new game for my birthday. Maybe I could save up my allowance enough and buy another one or two new games over the course of the whole year. It was expensive to get new games. So this guy's saying $70 games, way of the dodo. This is the CEO of Saber Interactive. So let's just take a quick look at what he's saying here, because I think he does have a couple good points, but overall, I think he's just misinformed and a little delusional. So this kind of just goes over some of the other studios that Saber encompasses, whatever. The main thing he cites here is Helldivers 2, which is kind of dumb. I mean, these companies keep doing this where they all want to emulate that live service style of game. And how many have failed trying to emulate that? So he's saying, Helldivers 2 is an example of this middle market game. So Helldivers 2 is about $50 in Canada, at least. I believe it retails for $40 in the United States. But he's basically saying that, you know, he's got one of its upcoming titles, Space Marines 2, will retail for $70. So then he's saying that, like, oh my God. So he's saying his upcoming game is $70, but that's only because he's concerned that people will think it's cheap. I don't know about that. I think more for me, it's not that it's cheap. Like when I'm going to look at a new game, I've typically got the game in my head already that I know I'm going to get. You know what I mean? I'm not browsing games and looking at, you know, the price is like the deciding factor for what game I'm going to buy. No, I'm going to go look at reviews. Why would I look at price as a determining factor? You know what I mean? Look at Hollow Knight, for example. It's like $20. Usually it's on sale. You can get that game dirt cheap. And that game is incredible. Doesn't make any sense. I don't think trying to emulate what Helldivers 2 has done is any sort of good idea by anyone's standards. Let's see what else he says here. So I think the games will become more expensive to make. The $70 title is going to go the way of the dodo. So he's not wrong. I mean, yeah, games are getting more and more expensive, and it is becoming riskier for these companies to make these AAA games, because if you get a game like Forspoken or something like that just completely flops and it costs millions and millions of dollars, I mean, that's risky. And I think that's how they're looking at it. And I think that's why mostly, you know, we're getting a lot of recycled stuff. We're getting a lot of remakes. We're getting a lot of sequels. So games that they know we're going to sell. So he goes on to say, I just don't think it's sustainable. Look, you remember the hype for Cyberpunk? Yeah, that was insane. And Cyberpunk's one of those games that because of the hype, I mean, I bought it like pretty much day one, which I think actually ultimately performed okay. Yeah, I mean, they fixed up a lot of that game. I played through it recently, probably last summer. And to be honest, I didn't have as many issues as people were reporting. I was playing on the Series X, but it is what it is. I think Cyberpunk's a great game. It still has some weird, quirky. Some of their decisions in the RPG elements are weird, but whatever. We won't get into that in this video. But when expectations are so high and money is put into one title, so much money is put into one title, it's hugely risky for the company that's doing it. What if it fails? Yes. So what if it fails? Well, I mean, don't make a shitty game. Like, come up with the game concept. Is this fun? And then make, the rest of the game around that. Like, I think a lot of these companies focus too much on some other garbage and they don't focus on, like, the main thing. Is the game fun? And I think that's where Nintendo excels. Because they look at things, if it's not fun, we're not going to make it. It's got to be fun first, and then we make a game around the fun. That's just how it is. So he goes on to say, you remember what happened with Ubisoft a couple of years ago? All their titles slipped out of the year. Yeah, I mean, that did happen. And then all of a sudden they were an entirely different place. It's hard to recover from that. Ubisoft, in my opinion, is kind of a bad example because I really feel, where Ubisoft has kind of taken that place where EA was maybe 5 years ago, where they were getting a lot of hate for all the microtransactions and all the, crappy titles and crap. Ubisoft's kind of just taken that place. And to be honest, I can't even recall the last time or the last Ubisoft game I bought or let alone even played. Like, I've never been into the Assassin's Creeds, and I mean, what else do they have? Maybe if they dropped a new Splinter Cell, which could be happening, maybe I'd be into the Splinter Cell, but Ubisoft is just one of those companies where it's just, you're getting, a pretty a polished turd. We'll put it that way. I think the market is going to shift development, which is not necessarily lower quality, but there's going to be an emphasis on trying to find ways to reduce costs. I mean, all companies do this, especially if they're publicly traded. They're going to try and cut costs wherever they can, and most of that's going to be in your man hours. That's just how they do it, because at the end of the day, these companies want to turn a profit. They have to turn a profit for all their shareholders, and that's kind of why they all suck. With thousands of job cuts announced across the games industry in the past 18 months, which has been insane, the amount of job cuts, but we know a lot of that's due to overhiring during COVID because of the explosion of the game market. Like, the game market was taken off, people were stuck at home for 2 years, couldn't really do much. They were buying PS5s like crazy when they could, you know what I mean? Like, trying to get a PS5, it took me... the better part of a year to try and get a PS5 because I wasn't going to overpay for a PS5. Screw that, especially when most of the games were still coming on the PS4. Why would I do that? So it took me the better part of a year to finally get a PS5. And the only reason I really got one is because my brother at the time was working at a Walmart, and he said, hey, we got 20 PS5s coming. You want one? And I'm like, yep. He transferred him the money that day. He got it for me. I went and picked it up a couple days later. So I kind of had a bit of an inside there. But yeah, he basically just goes on to basically say the reason why he thinks that, they're going to go the way of the Dodo, the $70 game, is because the job cuts here. So there's going to be less people working on games. There's going to be less talent. They're not going to be able to pump out those AAA games. So Karch acknowledged that AAA development is going through a major shift and has claimed the past trends of sky-high budgets and lengthy development periods aren't sustainable. Maybe. And maybe they will be more sustainable if the game prices increase. I don't know. In my opinion, not that I want to be paying more for games. I definitely don't want to be paying more for games. And I hate paying more for anything. But when I look at a video game versus almost any other form of entertainment, and how many hours I get out of that game versus... what if I went to like a theme park for a day? You know what I mean? I went to the theme park and I bought some food there, and I got some, went on a bunch of rides, and had a good day, and I was there for 6 hours or something like that, 6 hours of entertainment, and it cost me like $300 or something for the day, for me and another person. $300 for 6 hours. A lot of these video games, like, $70. Well, I guess more closer to 100 in Canada by the time you get your taxes in there, but $100. And if I get, 30, 40, some of these games, I mean, I'm still going through Dragon's Dogma 2 right now, doing a second playthrough. I'm probably like 65 hours into that game. Cost me $100. That's a pretty good value for your money. You know what I mean? And most of the time, I'd rather just play Dragon's Dogma than go to a theme park, I'm getting older. Those rides just hurt my head now. They give me headaches. But anyway, let's just see what his final statement is here. I think there's going to be a real shortage of game content over the next few years. You've seen how many layoffs there's been. You see how many games have gotten killed. But we have a lot of good projects going on that I'm proud of and I'm really feeling great about. Okay, yeah, so they've got stuff going on. So I don't know. I don't think that's where the game market's going to go. I don't think that prices are going to come down. I don't think that $70 games are going to go the way of the dodo. I think you're going to have hits here like Helldivers that I think at the end of the day, Helldivers, I haven't played it. Even though a lot of people want me to play Helldivers. Helldivers kind of just, focused on a fun concept and then just built the game around the fun concept. That's what you have to do. When you're building a game, fun should be the number one thing. It shouldn't be anything else. Fun should be the center of everything. If it's not fun, don't make a game around it. Don't center your game around something that's not fun and then expect it to succeed. Make your game fun first and then build your world around the fun. It's an insane concept. I know, it's wild that, we play video games for entertainment and some of them just aren't fun. It's just a grind. It's just work. Why? Make your game fun. Anyway, I'm not going to waste any more of your time. I'd like to know what you guys think down below. Thank you very much for tuning into this. Don't forget, like and subscribe. It really helps me grow. I'm going to be a little more active the next couple weeks. I have been dealing with a little bit of a shoulder injury, which has had me a little bit bummed out, I guess, the last couple weeks. So I haven't been as active because I haven't been able to go to the gym, and the gym has been is a big part of my mental health. So as my shoulder recovers, I've got a little bit of movement back in there and kind of moving around. Doesn't hurt. Pretty good. I'm going to be back on here making a lot of content for you guys. So thank you very much. I'll catch you next time. Have a good one. Take care. Game Crunch out.